we're here with Haja Rabia Redpath, who I've actually known for, hard to believe, 30 years, I think. And your husband, Sidi Abdulaziz, rahimahullah, was one of the people when I first became Muslim that took me under his wing and helped me quite a bit. You come from a very old English family.
That's right.
Yes, I think your mother was actually a lady.
That's right. Yeah.
When you became Muslim, maybe you could just describe, first of all, what that transition was, and then also how your family reacted to that.
It's quite a story, how I came to Islam. But, I mean, very briefly, I think I was part of the 60s, the sort of madness of the 60s, and there was a sort of seeking for meaning in existence. There was something let loose at that time, and I was very much part of that. I got involved in Tibetan Buddhism, and I was put into a retreat for a week. And during that retreat, something happened. Something extraordinary happened, which gave me an absolute certainty of Allah's existence, of God, as I then said. And it made me weep and weep. And at the same time, it frightened me, because I knew that I couldn't go on living the life I lived. And this therefore meant I'd have to become a Buddhist nun, shave my head, and never get married and so on. And I simply didn't want that. So I found myself doing a dua to take me to something that was real, and where I could get married and live a life, but within the folds of what would that would have parameters, really. I then met some friends who I hadn't seen for a long time, and in meeting them, I saw that they had, in the meantime, become Muslim, and I saw their behavior was different. And this is what really struck me. And they then took me to a sheikh in Morocco, Sheikh Mohammed ibn Habib, who was my first sheikh. And it was simply, I didn't know anything about Islam at all, but it was simply the light that emanated from himself, from the people around him, and their behaviour and their adab. And I thought, this is it. I want to grow like these people, not like the people in the West. And I didn't know anything, so I said the Shahada.
Well, what's really interesting is, for me, I really believe Islam is an incredibly ambitious religion. Central assumption of the religion, if I can even use that word, is that human beings are actually quite extraordinary.
Yes.
That they're capable of so much more than they're even aware of, and that their hearts are open to this knowledge of God.
Yes.
And then it's, in essence, I mean, my father recently, because we have this ongoing discussion about my wife's hijab, or he actually said to her, I wish you would just take that thing off your head.
Yes.
And I said, have you ever seen a picture of the Virgin Mary without her head covered?
Exactly.
And he literally changed when I said that, and he said, is that what that represents?
No. Yeah.
He could relate.
Yeah. He could relate to it. Suddenly he saw it in a different light, that it really was about something much deeper than just some piece of cloth on the head. It was something much deeper. And that idea of, not wanting to become a nun, but at the same time, Islam really is, it's asking a woman to become a nun. I mean, she's allowed to get married, she's allowed to, but it's asking her to devote her life to God.
Absolutely.
Which is exactly what a nun does. And it's asking the man to devote his life to God. And that's why they actually described the early community. They said, Forsanun bin Nahar, Rahbanun bil Layl. They were knights in the daytime, but monks at nighttime.
No.
It's a beautiful description of that early community. And I really feel that aspect of our religion is diminishing.
Yes.
That spiritual depth of our religion. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, I think what you say is very, very clear, and that what seems to be, because we can see how over women's issues it's always brought up about how the women dress, to the exclusion of really looking at anything else. It's exaggerated too much, the importance. It is vitally important, because we're asked to dress modestly.
But it becomes the central issue about women, yes.
And there's no doubt about it that I think what is lost now is the inwardness, the inward aspect, which joined with the Sharia of Islam, you become a full Muslim. If I may give an example, actually, of that, which is something which happened to me when I first became Muslim, because I became Muslim through this particular sheikh. everybody I met would lower their eyes, like the Prophet ﷺ said that men should lower their eyes to women, and they would go salam alaikum like this, which would elevate one and give one a sense of respect. And then when I went out to the Muslim world, I was so shocked to see people going like this to me, the men going, you know, lowering their eyes in a certain way that would make you feel completely the opposite. Right. That would make you feel belittled, that you were worthless and that you were no good. And what I realized was it's simply where it comes from, in the man's being, in the person's being, that the Sharia is given life and body through the inner aspect, because these were two opposite results.
I think that aspect of our religion, you know, ihsan,
yes,
which the Prophet ﷺ described it as really the pinnacle of the religion, and it's really about being God conscious. I want to thank you for coming and spending the time, and may Allah continue to give you tawfiq.